Leading a team is one thing, but leading a team of team leaders, that's a whole different story. It's no longer about direct oversight. It's about inspiring and enabling others to lead effectively. And those who do it well don't just manage, they create an environment where leadership grows, where their team leaders develop their own styles, and where great ideas don't just come from the top, but emerge naturally throughout the organization. When I think about great leadership, I often think of my dad. He spent his career as an executive at the Austrian railway company, where at his peak he had about 15,000 people under him. But what set him apart was not the number of people he managed, but how he led them. He was approachable to all, from top engineers to workers on the tracks. His door was always open and his team knew they could count on him, not just when things were going well, but especially in times of crisis. I remember Sundays at our house when employees would come over visibly shaken after witnessing something traumatic on the tracks. My dad would listen, comfort them, and help them process what had happened. He was more than a boss. He was a mentor, a guide, and sometimes even a therapist. And his commitment wasn't just words. I remember one winter when he had a cast on his leg after a skiing mishap. A train derailed, and rather than staying at home, as maybe he should have, he grabbed his crutches and went straight to the scene. He hobbled around the site, making sure his people were safe and everything was being handled properly. That level of dedication didn't go unnoticed. Decades later, now in his 80s, former colleagues still seek his advice and keep him updated on what's happening in the company. That's the kind of leadership that leaves a lasting impact. And while procurement leadership may not involve derailed trains, the principles remain the same. If you want to be an effective leader of leaders, you have to deeply care not just about results, but about the people who make those results happen. As your career progresses, there comes a moment when you're no longer just leading a team, you're leading a group of leaders. And that's a major shift. You're not just responsible for performance anymore. You're responsible for shaping the environment in which leadership thrives. Your success is no longer about what you do, but about what they can do. This shift can be difficult. Many new senior leaders struggle with letting go. They're used on being hands-on, making decisions, stepping in when things go wrong. And that's understandable. It's what made them successful in the first place. But at this level, micromanagement isn't an option. The best leaders don't dictate every move. They set a clear vision, they provide guidance, and they trust their team leaders to execute. I've seen this play out in procurement many times. The best procurement leaders don't just manage negotiations themselves. They empower their teams to lead. They don't just solve problems when they arise. They build structures that prevent problems in the first place. And they don't just focus on cost savings. They challenge their teams to think about the bigger picture, supplier partnerships, innovation, risk management, and long-term value creation. But leadership is not just about process, it's about people. One of the most overlooked aspects of leading team leaders is trust. When you're in a senior leadership role, your team leaders need to feel safe coming to you with problems, concerns, and ideas. And this is where so many mid-level leaders struggle. They feel pressure to always have the answers, to always be in control. But the best leaders create a culture where it's okay to admit challenges, to ask for help, and to experiment with new approaches. I once worked with a procurement executive who had a unique approach. Every quarter, he would hold an open forum with his team leaders where they could discuss not just their successes, but also what wasn't working. And these meetings weren't about blame, they were about learning. This built a culture of trust where team leaders weren't afraid to take calculated risks, knowing that if things didn't go as planned, they would be supported rather than punished. Beyond trust, great leaders set the direction and then get out of the way. They don't micromanage the how. They focus on the why and the what. They don't just tell their teams what targets they need to hit. They paint a vision of what great procurement looks like. They encourage the team leaders to think big, to challenge themselves, and to take ownership of their roles. And that brings me back to my dad. He didn't just lead through authority. He led through respect, through connection, through a deep commitment to the people around him. He understood something fundamental. Leadership isn't just telling people what to do. It's about creating an environment where they want to excel. Leading team leaders is one of the most rewarding, but also one of the most challenging transitions in a career. It requires letting go of control, trusting others, and focusing on the big picture. It's about creating an environment where leadership thrives, where people feel supported, and where great ideas come from every level. It's about setting the vision, enabling others, and knowing when to step in and when to step back. And most importantly, it's about truly caring. Not just about results, but about the people who make those results happen. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Christian Schuh, and this has been Procurement in the Park. Stay tuned for more insights on leadership, procurement, and building a career that makes an impact.